UFC 138 recap and semifinals of TUF preview. Here we go. Let's roll. Good fight card. The English crowd got a good, it doesn't have the names, but a lot of the fights were interesting fights. A lot of the fights turned out to be very good, and that's what makes this a good card. I think people sometimes get overcaught in the concept of we need that big name. Without that big name, this card is terrible. Um, and I don't think that's the case. I think this was a very solid card from top to bottom. But here we go. Chris Carriasso, Von Lee have not gotten to see the fight. Chris Carriasso winning by split. Chris Carriasso, good step in the future for him. Von Lee, I think he really needs to progress just a bit in his skills. Round himself out. Maybe work on more fundamental stuff when he seems to like to throw flashy stuff too much. And I just don't think that that's conducive to being a top 135 pounder. Chris Cope, Che Mills. Che Mills knocking out Chris Cope. Thank you. Chris Cope, of course, he's a former tougher. He'll probably be back. That being said, he's not a full-time fighter. I don't think he has the skills to really match up with anyone in the welterweight division that's been around for any length of time. Che Mills showing that, explosive knockout ability that he has. Anyone who's seen this guy knows, he's a top of the food chain striker. Maybe a bit lacking in other areas. Definitely, I think still needs to round out his game some. But he's definitely a guy who I'm interested to see what he can do in the UFC 170 division. Omigawa, Jason Young. Omigawa defeating Shotgun Young by unanimous decision. Not overly surprising. Shotgun does have to round out his game a bit more and be. I haven't seen any of these. I saw the Mills fight. We saw that. That was broadcasted during the broadcast on Spike TV. A lot of these other ones weren't, unfortunately, which I still have to go and find them. Rob Broughton, Philip DeFries. Another fight I didn't see, but I'm led to believe that just basically Philip DeFries going out there and showing good grappling skills, but nothing spectacular. Good wrestling skills, but again nothing spectacular. Just basically being the better athlete out of him and Rob Broughton to get the win. And he's an interesting heavyweight prospect. He definitely looked like he had a lot of holes. If you watched his stuff from pre-UFC, I guess now. But he's an interesting prospect. He is pretty athletic for a heavyweight. He appears to have a reasonably solid ground game and a reasonably solid wrestling game. And his stand-up, he seems to have somewhat of a chin. So maybe you got something here. Maybe they got something here. John McGuire, Justin Edwards got to see this fight. Very good showing from John McGuire. He got clipped early. His stand-up is still, I think, a work in progress. But his wrestling is pretty good for a Brit. His grappling is very good. He showed an ability to just chain for submission after submission there. Change submissions with great frequency and effectiveness. And also to control Justin Edwards. That being said, it is Justin Edwards, and I do want to see him against a more serious wrestler in the future to see what it is he really has. That's just about all I have to say on that. Main card, Terry Adam destroyed Edward Filato. Thank you. Please get him out of the UFC now. That's 3 straight losses. Please, Dana, cut him. He's a joke. I don't even know why he was signed at the beginning. I went through that on my prediction video, though, so I'm not going to rant on it too long here. Cyril Diabate losing to Anthony Parash. That was always going to be a dangerous fight because Cyril Diabate, he is the type of guy that just due to his style is prone to possibly getting beaten by fighters he shouldn't be beaten. And this is a case of that. Or maybe we really seen the birth of maybe a 205 Anthony Parash. Because people, admittedly, most of his losses are at heavyweight. He's recently gone down to 205, and he's putting together wins. Tom Blackledge and now Cyril Diabate. We'll see, I guess. We will see if this is a rebirth of Parash's career, or if this is just a bit more of an anomaly. Thiago Alves submitting Papi Abedi did a good job on the feet of just beating up a Papi. Not that Papi didn't have some moments, but I mean, it became pretty obvious quite early that there was a significant difference in the stand-up in this fight, and Alves was going to take advantage of that. He was going to rock Eddie, get him to the ground, and eventually submit him with a fair amount of ease. I mean, props to Poppy Abedi for coming out and fighting Alves in his first UFC fight, but I think anyone who really knew thought that he was a bit overmatched in this fight. Not that he's not an interesting prospect, not that he's not a guy that I want to see do a lot more fighting in the UFC, but I just think that he was overmatched in that one. Brad Pitt versus Renan Barão. Barão did pretty well at the start with the stand-up, but it became quite obvious that Pickett was able to, for one thing, he stuffed his takedown. For another thing, he started taking control on the feet, but he got clipped. And, from there it went pretty downhill. Barão showed you nasty, nasty ground skills. He's a very well-rounded 135er. He's actually the guy that I want to see Dominic Cruz fight. Not necessarily because I think he's the number 2 bantamweight, and I don't really think he is. I do believe that the winner of Bulls favored, that's your legitimate number 2 guy in the division. But I think that Dominic Cruz is just a bad stylistic matchup for both of those guys. Whereas I think Barão, with his more sort of natural stand-up, a little quicker, I think, and of course a much better ground game, and a mental toughness that comes from the fact that he responds okay to getting his takedown stuff, something that neither Faber nor Bulls do. Like when you set their takedowns, they get a little lost. I mean, they're just not used to it, and it's a bit of weakness in their game that Dominic Cruz can use. So yeah, there you go. That could be your next number 1 contender for a bantamweight title. Chris Leben, Mark Munoz. Leben gassing out in the first round. Terrible weight cut. Inexcusable for a guy of his veteran caliber, and a guy who, and surprising because he's a guy that we haven't heard much in the way of this type of thing before from. Maybe he's got a better reason than I'm unaware of, but it is what it is. Just get beat up. He kept going for those chokes, and he needed to stop doing that. Munoz was quite happy to kind of be in the choke, get out of the choke, and start ground and pounding him a fair bit. And Munoz could do some things on the feet. Munoz is a dangerous guy, and if you gas against him, you are going to get finished. That's basically it. He's got some of the nastiest ground and pound around. A very good wrestler. Stand-up's coming along. Still a work in progress, I think, but it's coming along. His grappling, his ability to stay out of submissions is, well, not necessarily stay out of submissions, but not get finished by submissions seems to be quite good. So, there you go. I mean, you had possibly 2, future title contenders, and Barão and Munoz on this card. And people were crapping on it. I don't really understand that. On to the Ultimate Fighter semifinals. At bantamweight, we have Johnny Bedford versus John Dobson. I wanted this fight because Bedford, of course, got ratted on by Dobson, but with the broken hand. I'm unsure who to pick. I mean, on one hand, you got Bedford, who's the bigger guy, the stronger guy, possibly the better wrestler, very veteran guy. John Dobson's a little newer to the sport, but very athletic, very quick, very his style is very, very diverse and very, very hard to prepare for, I think. And in the end, it's a tough call. I'm thinking Bedford. Just I don't know. I just think that Dobson is a little too lazy for his own good, and periodically doesn't listen to his corner enough. And I think that might catch him in this fight and make it difficult. I also from watching Dobson fight outside of the TUF, he doesn't really like it when you can put your weight on him. Not that anyone does, but I mean, like, he really, really slows down if you can put some weight on him. And it's something John Albert really couldn't do for a long period. And we'll see if Bedford can do it. And the other one, you got Dillashaw versus Dustin Pegg. Dustin Pegg is a good stand-up guy. You can catch him with something. But Dillashaw is a beast of a wrestler. And he's got okay stand-up. He trains with Alpha Male. It's a good camp. I think that he wins that fight. In the featherweight division, Dennis Bermudez versus Akira. This, I think, is an easy one to call, honestly. I think Bermudez takes it. Akira, when he was trying to beat up on Dillashaw, just got slammed by Dillashaw, who's a smaller version of Dennis Bermudez. I mean, he's a D1 wrestler who's a lot smaller than Akira. Bermudez is a bigger D1 wrestler, I think, and Dustin East was able to take him down when he actually did it. Akira's got good power in his hands. People are questioning Bermudez's ability to take a punch. So, I mean, there's maybe his chance. But I think it's a puncher's chance, and you got to go Dennis Bermudez. And then we have, in the final semifinal fight, Diego Brandao, Brian Caraway. Comes down to one thing, I think, and it's all about Brian Caraway. Brian Caraway is a very good wrestler, very physically capable fighter. TJ Dillashaw put it pretty well, actually, being a teammate of his. Brian Caraway beats himself. Brian Caraway, when he mentally breaks, mentally weak fighter. And when it comes down to it, if he believes he can beat Diego, and he keeps that belief, and he sticks to a game plan, and he keeps coming, he will beat Diego Brandao. If Diego can go in there, make him afraid of him, make him doubt himself, Diego will win. I think that the latter is more likely, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, because I don't really like Caraway. I just don't like Diego. But I'm probably taking Diego to win and get to the finals, making it Mayhem versus Bisping in both finals. Despite the fact that I thought Mayhem's team won this season. But it's going to be a bit of a weird one because, Dillashaw, I think, will win bantamweight. And it is quite possible that, crap, I just broke something. It is quite possible that Diego will also win featherweight, which makes it, pretty hard to argue that Bisping wins the season. But that's it. That's all there's to it. Yeah, so those are my picks for my breakdown of the post UFC 138. Not the greatest thing ever because I didn't really describe a lot of fights. I thought it was kind of rushed here, and my thoughts on TUF's semifinals coming up. So enjoy.